talk about NXT Deadline, December the 9th, 2023. Very solid show from top to bottom. Nothing wrong with the show. Actually, they took me on a nice little roller coaster when it comes to the Deadline Iron Survivor matches, and everything else either met or exceeded expectations. So, what exceeded expectations is something that we never expected. That it was CM Punk showing up in Bridgeport, and he's in the ring with Shawn Michaels, and they have a little bit of an unscripted back and forth where they both joke that they forgot what they were supposed to say. And then CM Punk is like, "Look at us, being best buds. Look at us." Shawn Michaels notes that CM Punk is wearing a Bret Hart hoodie. It's a Roots to Fight Bret Hart hoodie. And CM Punk notes that I forgot my Shawn Michaels merchandise. They hug each other. CM Punk says that there's a bunch of people backstage walking up to him asking for selfies because they grew up watching him. And he says right now he's going to ask Shawn Michaels for a selfie because he grew up watching Shawn. And then they took the selfie. CM Punk earlier has said this was all about healing. He made up with Triple H. Bret Hart made up with Shawn Michaels. That's what all of this thing is all about. It was sort of an unscripted appearance. It was meant to be fun and to pop the crowd, which it did. It was not a promo because they were not trying to sell anything. Though they were trying to find ways to tie it into this whole, is CM Punk going to sign with Raw or SmackDown? I hate that. I hate that part. But that was basically just trying to justify his appearance. That he's there because Shawn wants to talk to him about joining NXT, which of course we know is not about to happen. But they had a little fun segment in the ring. There's been a roller coaster up and down between Shawn and CM Punk. There's stories of Shawn burying CM Punk in the past. There's also stories of Shawn standing up for CM Punk. So, it's one of the things where people get older, things change. CM Punk is seemingly genuinely happy. The positive energy is there. Shawn was happy to have CM Punk there. He wanted CM Punk in WWE. This all worked out. This was great. They weren't trying to sell you anything. There was no threats of CM Punk wrestling. There was no tension. It was just CM Punk and Shawn Michaels go out there and chat in front of the crowd to get the crowd excited. And I think it was fine. I don't expect that there was going to be any tension because who's going to fight who? Shawn's too old to have a match. And Punk is not about to wrestle Shawn Michaels, and they certainly not about to scrap on NXT. So it was a fun segment. Both of them kind of forgot what they were supposed to say, so they kind of went out there and flubbed their way through it. Crowd didn't care. It was just nice seeing them. So they joked about, the Shawn Bret thing and then the CM Punk Triple H thing, and now everybody's cool. Everybody's on good terms. It's all about healing. It's all about making the fans feel better and, mending fences. And so that's what they did. They hugged, they took a selfie, and then we started the show. First match on the show, Dominic Mysterio drops the North American title for the second time, this time to Dragon Lee and Destino. Dominic Mysterio, he's got to be the most improved wrestler in the business over the last 2 or 3 years, hasn't he? Now, I've seen somewhere that he's had over 100 matches this year, which makes sense. But he has improved so much. He went from being sort of a mediocre to poor wrestler to being kind of mediocre to now being mediocre to good. Like Dominic Mysterio doesn't have bad matches anymore. There's still some sketchiness about his athleticism, especially when it comes to like the 619. He's not the smoothest in the world with that, but he does great character stuff. And now the stuff that he actually does do, he does very well. He's finding things that fit him and that he can do on his own that doesn't require a lot of assistance. And he's learning how to work the character. Dragon Lee is just phenomenal, of course. I'm a big booster for Dragon Lee. And I thought this was really good. I thought this was really good. This rocked. It was a great opener. Dragon Lee wins the match. So he's the North American champion. Seems to me They also going with the storyline right now. Before I get into my thoughts about Dragon Lee being the North American champion, they're doing a storyline where Dominic Mysterio is mad at Judgment Day for not helping him in this match. He had to wrestle this match by himself. So, the post match was Dominic being mad that Mommy wasn't there and that Finn and Damian, nobody came to help him. Nobody was looking out for him. So I expect that to be his storyline going forward. And maybe, and here's what I think, my conspiracy theory about Dragon Lee. Methinks that Dragon Lee is going to be defending the North American title on SmackDown. Now, the reason why I think this is because with Roman Reigns coming and going, and with Logan Paul coming and going, there is no singles championship on SmackDown. But Dragon Lee is a SmackDown superstar. So what you do is you put the belt on Dragon Lee. And then you have Dragon Lee defend the North American title on SmackDown. That way, there is a singles champion on SmackDown. But it's Dragon Lee who is technically an NXT champion. And he gets to work NXT and SmackDown. And considering they both need him, this works out. And he gets more reps. It works out. The only problem I have with this is that he lost to Santos Escobar clean twice before we got here. That was dumb. This is why I said in the SmackDown review, if he was not going to win this tournament, why did you put him in it? You could have just had Cameron Grimes or Cedric Alexander just do a random job to Santos Escobar. It wouldn't have made a goddamn difference. Why did it have to be Dragon Lee? So what I would expect now is that Santos Escobar is going to lose in the tournament, and then he's going to wrestle Dragon Lee for the North American belt probably, and Dragon Lee will get those wins back. At least I hope that's the case. That would be sensible booking. But Dragon Lee being the North American champion is great. Dominic Mysterio will be back. I don't see him leaving NXT anytime soon. I hope they don't do the switch. He just wins it right back. That would suck. So let's just hope that Dragon Lee gets a little bit of a run. And then maybe they switch Dominic to another title. Maybe he takes up that tag team belt or something like that. Or they introduce something else for him to win. But he definitely works better with a championship. He was a great champion. All right, the next match was the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge, to which Blair Davenport, who was the person I picked, won the match. She won the match with 3 points. Kelani Jordan got 0 points. 0 points for Kelani Jordan. That's so unfair. It's not right. Tiffany Stratton only had 1 point, despite the fact that she's probably the most over person in the match. Terrible usage of Tiffany Stratton. She got, 20 minutes into the match. She had only scored 1 point, and she had been pinned 2 or 3 times at that point. And I was kind of like, oh no, what are they doing? I get it. You have to push her to the side in order to lift up other people. But again, this is probably a spot where maybe you don't put her in it. You put her in a singles match or something like that, and you give this spot to somebody else, like Gigi Dolan or somebody like that. Whatever. But this match really got good once Lash Legend came in. Believe it or not, our dear sister Lash Legend. She came in and she just started immediately doing dope stuff. She's pulling out power bombs. She's pulling off choke slams. She's doing kip ups. I mean, she's coming across like she's next level athlete at this point. And this is amazing because about a year or so ago, Lash Legend was one of the worst wrestlers people have ever seen. No doubt. No doubt. But there used to be times where, and I'm sure you guys remember, where people were looking at her matches on Level Up and posting them on Twitter saying, like, she is the worst. She is the most garbage wrestler ever, and she needs to be cut. And this was, of course, because people were posting, like, AEW botches and that kind of stuff. And Lash Legend hadn't been in the business long. But now she has been in the business for a little while. She's got a year or more in reps. She's getting kind of good. She's starting to click. She's starting to find it. And so the match really picks up when she gets in. So she's pulling out power bombs. She did her stupid dribbling between the ropes thing. I can't stand that. I wish you didn't do that. But she ends up pinning 2 people at once, scoring 2 pinfalls almost immediately after getting in the ring. So that's Fallon Henley and Tiffany Stratton were pinned. They go into the penalty box. So then Oro Mensah and Noam Dar, they slip from the crowd and they block the opening of the penalty box. So now Fallon Henley and Tiffany Stratton are stuck in there. Fallon Henley climbs out the top of the penalty box, and Tiffany Stratton pushes her off of it through the announce table. Great spot. Then Tiffany Stratton climbs up the penalty box herself and does a swanton off of it. Another great spot. And that was probably like a very high energy spot of the match. But the Blair Davenport ends up winning in the end. Lash Legend was very close to catching up. She came in second place with 2 points. And it was a really good match. You know, it was better than I thought it would be. My only downslide is the booking of Tiffany Stratton to only have 1 point, but I think it was mostly they wanted to book her to be preoccupied with Fallon Henley, and for Fallon Henley to also be preoccupied with her. But poor Kalani Jordan was put in this thing. She basically just got an opportunity to showcase herself because she got no points. She got nothing. So apparently the winner of this match, who is Blair Davenport, will be wrestling at New Year's Evil, which I'm guessing is going to be a 2-week event, or is it going to be a 1-night event? I think it says the first NXT of the new year, but I'm not sure if that's a 1-night event or a 2-week event. But that's when she'll be wrestling Lyra Valkyria. So Blair Davenport basically called out Lyra Valkyria, and as Lyra was coming out, she was attacked from behind by Cora Jade with the new titties. You know, big bosom Cora Jade. So Cora Jade's back. She's been gone almost 6 months. I think 4 or 5 months or whatever. Later, she cut a promo saying she's going to take this place to a whole new level. I don't know what she meant by that, but she's back in town, new tits and all, and you can't say enough about the new tits. I guess that's what she's back with. She's a CM Punk super fan. Of course, she posted a selfie of herself and CM Punk. There's also videos and different things of like that when she met him when she was a kid. She's a CM Punk super fan, so I know she was very excited. But Cora Jade kind of inserting herself into the women's championship storyline. I'm good with this. I like Cora Jade. She kind of overacts a little bit, like in terms of how she cuts promos. It doesn't come across as natural, but you know, you got to work on it. I mean, she's a young girl. I think is she even 25 yet? No, just let her work on it. This is what NXT's for. She needs to kind of work on that attitude a little bit. But new tits, new bosom. Who's going to take most of 2024 off getting new tits? It was Tiffany Stratton in 2022 who disappeared for months and months to get new tits. In 2023, it was Cora Jade who disappeared to get new tits. Who's going to get new tits next year? What's your guess in the comment section below? NXT new tits. But the thick girls are out because that Jada Parker, man, she's something else. They posted apparently she wrestled on Level Up, and all the thirsty folks found out, and they've been posting much video of this Jada Parker thickness all over the timeline. And yeah, buddy, she's a looker. I can tell you that much. She looks good. Anyway, move on. Let's get back to this show. Carmelo Hayes is backstage trying to hype up Trick Williams, who is giving him the stale face kind of. Carmelo Hayes is like, "You got this. I got this. This is blah 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 blah." And Trick Williams is like, "Yeah." Then told him like he needs him to handle the Lexus King issue tonight, and Carmelo Hayes was like, "Oh yeah, definitely gonna do that. Definitely gonna handle that." Before we get into the show, before we get into that match, rather, Carmelo Hayes had a slight issue with a t-shirt that AEW is selling. They're selling a t-shirt with the MJF devil on it, and it says, "I am him." And Carmelo Hayes, I think he tweeted about it or something, about how he wants one of those shirts because he's been calling himself him for a year and a half, and now all of a sudden, AEW is kind of infringing on his gimmick, and maybe he didn't trademark it, and so they can get away with it. Speaking of trademarks, apparently Yeet is back, so maybe that guy from West Virginia got paid off, or maybe, I'm pretty sure he probably got paid off. No big deal. What he asked for, it probably wasn't much. So Jey Uso was Yeeting again, so it's all cleared up, everybody. So I'm pretty sure whatever WWE offered him was more than he was going to make off of any t-shirts or anything that he had in terms of money he was going to make. But that's business. He was smart to use it and to have it, and he was also smart to sell it because there was nothing he was going to do with it that was going to be more than WWE was going to give him for it. So let's move on to this match. Lexus King versus Carmelo Hayes. I was waiting for people to hate this match because Brian Pillman Jr. has been around for 10 years or something like that. Probably, maybe not 10 years. Well, maybe actually probably has been around for 10 years. And I haven't heard any negativity until right before his end of the AEW run. Then all of a sudden, he was one of the worst wrestlers of all time. He was terrible, yada, yada, yada. So I was really hoping he was going to have a breakout match here, but instead it was just kind of solid. Brian Pillman Jr. is a guy who's not great, but he's not awful. He's seemingly found a nice little pocket with this gimmick that he's got here. I'm not quite sure what it is outside of him just being annoying and an instigator, but everything about this was pretty cool. He went and got his hair braided, similar to Carmelo Hayes, and was pointing at it and telling everybody that, they have matching braids. Then he tried to shake Carmelo Hayes' hand, and Carmelo Hayes refuses to shake his hand. A few minutes later, after they worked the hand, which is oddly enough, he kept forgetting to sell his hand after he chopped the ring post, which is, that's a rookie mistake. But Lexus King was trying to get him to shake his hand and calling Carmelo Hayes a snake and all this kind of stuff. And Carmelo Hayes ends up winning the match with nothing but net, which is the top rope leg drop. And so he won the match clean. And the match was solid. Nothing was botched. Nothing was awful. It was just a straight up solid match. You probably could have had it on TV and it would have been just as good. After the match, Lexus King thanked Carmelo Hayes for the NXT pay-per-view spotlight, but it wasn't him who attacked Trick Williams. So basically, he just trolled his way into a pay-per-view paycheck. Hey, I got to tell you, that's the heist of the century. I may have lost, but hey, I got a nice little paycheck out of it. I got some spotlight out of it. I got a nice paycheck out of it. Man, big deal. What the hell? Why would you book this guy to say that? But it was a top match. It wasn't bad. After the match, Trick apologized to Carmelo Hayes and said that they're good now, and it was time for him to win the Iron Survivor Challenge. And this led to match 4, the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge, in which I was actually very angry about 20 minutes in. And you know why. Trick Williams was the most over wrestler on the show, not named CM Punk. More over than anybody else on this show. And for the first 20 minutes or more, Trick Williams had been pinned 3 or 4 times. He had no points, and it looked like he was going to come dead last in this thing. And then they pulled off the most miraculous comeback. And I said, fuck if they didn't do a really good job building this match. So Josh Briggs and Dijak, they start the thing. Josh Briggs is the final holdout from Evolve. I think he's the last guy from when WWE purchased Evolve, the last guy that was still on the roster. That was crazy. That of all the Evolve talent, if you look at the people who are on that show, The only one left is Josh Briggs. Shotzi. I think Shotzi was one of the last people on there too. Anyway, Tyler Bate came in third. Trick Williams was fourth, and Brian Breaker was fifth. So Tyler Bate comes in. I don't understand this little beetle, and he's spinning Trick Williams over his head. You've seen Claudio do this, and it was actually very impressive. But when you pick him up and you do the spinning airplane, and he's just spinning Trick Williams, and then he spins him, and then he puts his hands on his hips, and he's still spinning them with no hands. Like, that got super over with the audience, and that was great. That was legit. But when I see Tyler Bate hitting Josh Briggs or Dijak with like a Pearl River plunge, I'm like, bro, come on. You know, like, he's going to get a Mighty Mouse gimmick. You know, like, this guy's, I get it. The whole thing is he's strong, but he's small. But personality has to count for something, for Christ's sake. That's why I call him a beetle, because it reminds me of the British invasion from like the 1960s. All these bland dudes come over and trying to become super popular, but it's seemingly all just media hype. And that's basically what happened with NXT UK, is a bunch of people that the UK media and all these wrestling media types love came over here, and very few of them were very good. Dragunov really took his shit to the next level when he got here, and of course Gunther took his shit to the next level. But everybody else is seemingly worse than they were in NXT UK. Gallus, which is 3 guys. Noam Dar is about the same because he was on WWE TV before. But Tyler Bate, oh my God, Butch, terrible. Anyway, when Trick Williams got pinned at one point, the crowd is chanting, "Free that trick, free that trick." I thought that was fantastic, and it happened every time he got put into the cage, which was probably far too many times. So Brian Breaker comes in last and starts going on a spearing spree, and he gets 3 straight falls and wins 3 straight falls, has 3 of 4 people in the pod at one time, and everybody's in there fighting and carrying on. And at this point, Trick Williams comes out of the pod, and he has no points. This is over 20 minutes into the match, and he's been pinned 3 or 4 times. Dijak is about to score his 4th fall, or his 4th fall, and Eddie Thorpe ends up pulling him out of the ring. So Eddie Thorpe, the LGBT Tatanka, he screwed Dijak out of this match. But this actually would begin Trick Williams' miraculous comeback, as he scores a couple of roll-ups. And as everybody else is outside the ring, he gets a quick pin from the knee strike on Braun Breaker to win the match. He breaks the tie at 4. Tyler Bate and Dijak and Braun Breaker all had 3. So Trick Williams wins the Iron Survivor Challenge. And I have to say, the roller coaster for me is sitting here saying, this guy is the most over guy in the match. He has no points, and he's losing pretty much every other fall. What are you doing? What is the purpose of that? And then he pulls off the miraculous comeback, and I'm like, oh, I'm flummoxed. I'm surprised. I'm excited. Like, this is great. This was good booking. You know, the story was, we're going to take him out, make it look like he has no chance, and he's going to make a miraculous comeback. And then on Twitter, Trick Williams was like, God was all over that, to try to make everybody believe that it was a big miraculous comeback. You know, that was fantastic. So this leads us to the Josh Briggs segment with Noam Dar. So Noam Dar and Oro Mensah, they start making fun of Josh Briggs for losing, and this leads to a fight between the Metaphor, Briggs, Jensen, and Henley. They're going to have a 6-person tag match on Tuesday, and I'm guessing Josh Briggs is about to turn heel and leave his team, because he seemed to be pretty pissed off at Brooks Jensen for saying that he understands how Josh Briggs feels. And it seemed like they've been teasing this breakup for a while, and probably that's why Josh Briggs was given this spot, is because they want to see him on his own. And also, Brooks Jensen has been wrestling a lot of singles matches too, but they've been all on Level Up. So, but It seemed like that's where they're going to go with here. Now they're going to try to break up Briggs and Jensen. Fallon Henley probably should go on her own. She's actually pretty good. I know she was an indie worker too, but you know she's got something going with her and Tiffany Stratton. She doesn't need to be hanging out with these bums. I hate this trio. I like them individually. I think I'm just not sure about the hick stuff that they do all together. I don't know. It just seems across very weird. But the main event of the show, Ilia Dragunov defeats Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin once again walks this chopper around the ring, and it's almost like if you remember that scene from Harlem Nights where the guy goes pop pop, and then Arsenio Hall's character takes his hat off. Don't you shoot that little shit no more. That's how I feel about it with this chopper. If you're gonna walk the chopper around, just don't drive it, okay? If you can't ride that son of a bitch, don't even bring it out. All right, stop. Just we're gonna, but just your legs walking the damn thing. Like, come on, man, that sucks. It sucks. This basically was a Ilia Dragunov match. He took a tremendous amount of damage. He got choke slammed off the top rope and all kinds of stuff, and he still managed to win and almost sever the head of his opponent. He hit him with 3 H-bombs, hugged him, then beat him with Torpedo Moscow. I think this match would have been so much better if it was the 4th match on the show rather than the 6th. Like, I get it. It's the NXT Championship match. You want it to main event, but I don't think that Baron Corbin was a convincing opponent. So I didn't think that this match mattered that much. And I think that the Iron Survivor Challenge, especially the way that they booked it, should have gone on last. And we should have ended the show with Trick Williams' miraculous comeback. To me, that would have been much better than ending the show with Trick Williams coming out to confront Ilia Dragunov, but Carmelo Hayes in the shadows, walking behind Trick Williams, which of course leads everybody to believe that he's going to attack him or something like that. But I think fan cam or something like that would have come out if he'd actually did anything. So it was just an interesting camera angle. And I think that we could have had that same camera angle if Trick Williams had won the Iron Survivor Challenge and Dragunov had come out to face him. So when it comes to Dragunov versus Corbin, my issue was mostly the placement on the card. It didn't feel like a main event to me. It felt like a TV match. It didn't feel like a pay-per-view main event. But then again, I knew that was going to be the case because I don't really like Baron Corbin. So, and I'm not saying that Baron Corbin did a bad job, just that he wasn't a believable opponent. So this match should have been in the middle of the show. The steel cage match, Roxanne Perez is defeated by Kiana James. Kiana James finally has a goon or a henchman or something. And as a character who's supposed to be about money and power and all this kind of stuff, she certainly needed that. I know she had some kind of assistant before, and I don't know what happened to that character, but that character's vanished, and now she's got this Izzy Dame, who I'm guessing is her goon, because Izzy Dame is pretty big. So she's kind of like a goon or a heater or something like that for Kiana James. And it's about time, It's about time for Kiana James to get a push anyway. She's actually been very good. And this match was solid. It wasn't the greatest cage match I've ever seen, clearly, but it was a good enough cage match, I think. Roxanne Perez has a real issue with being believable and coming from having fire and intensity and passion. I said this before. I think it comes with her being technically good, but she has to gather up the intangibles. She's got to learn how to talk. She's got to learn how to sell and be more get sympathy. And she certainly needs a better finisher. Her finisher sucks. But Izzy Dame ends up sliding a chair into the ring. She also closed the cage door on Roxanne Perez's head. Kiana James hits the deal breaker to win the match. So the feud was about Kiana James being in Roxanne Perez's shadow, that the two of them started at the same time. She won a championship, even though it was a tag team title, while Roxanne Perez won not only the breakout tournament, but Iron Survivor and a women's championship. And she felt like it was time for her to be mentioned in the same conversation as Roxanne Perez. And the only way to do that was for her to sort of force the issue that she can beat Roxanne Perez. And so now she has beaten her in a steel cage match with a little bit of help. And hopefully this leads to the elevation of Kiana James. I've watched, that's the beautiful thing about NXT is you watched all these people grow. Some of them are getting much better than they were when they first started. Kiana James is one of those people. She was not bad when she started, but she's getting a lot better now. Roxanne Perez in the ring is better. In terms of promos and characters, she's about the same. She has showed almost no growth. So I say that she probably needs some time to build a character, build a gimmick. And she probably needs to turn heel, if we're being honest. I don't know, how you would go about doing that, but she probably needs to turn heel so she can show a little bit more personality. But Easy Dame and Kiana James, this is great. Only problem I have with this is there's no women's tag team titles for them to go for. And when it comes to that women's championship, Lyra Valkyria, I can see Lyra Valkyria beating Blair Davenport, even though I don't like that idea, but I can see that happening. And maybe Kiana James could be next on the list after that, which could be fine too. But you also have Blair Davenport and Nikita Lyons, and you have Lyra Valkyria and Cora Jade. So you have a lot going on with the women's division. While the men's division is mostly, we're circling back to Trick Williams and Ilia Dragunov. And this is beautiful because it's a good storytelling, because Trick Williams really got over after working with Ilia Dragunov. Dragunov for Trick and Melo has been the measuring stick. He's been the dragon that neither one of them has been able to beat. And now Trick Williams is going to get his opportunity to win the NXT championship by beating Ilia Dragunov. And that tells me that is the night Carmelo Hayes is going to turn heel. He is going to screw Trick Williams out of the NXT championship. He does not want to play second fiddle to Trick Williams. I can see that coming. That would be the only finish that would make sense for Trick Williams to not win the title, because he's so hot right now that he has to win the belt. But if you have Carmelo fuck him out of the belt, then you have every reason in the world to put off him winning the belt. Then you could probably put it on somebody else and then have Trick Williams beat them if you don't want him to beat Dragunov. He probably should beat Dragunov. Or you have Trick Williams win the title and then have Carmelo Hayes turn on him. But the turn has to happen. We're in the stretch of the turn needed to happen sometime soon. Probably early 2024, the turn will happen. And we'll find out that it probably really was Carmelo Hayes that attacked Trick Williams because he doesn't want to play second fiddle to Trick Williams. He's Nino Brown, not G Money. You know what I'm saying? So that I could see that being the storyline going forward. And that's the one that makes sense to me. Overall, though, this show was pretty well booked. Nothing super fantastic outside of Trick Williams' miraculous comeback. And I got a good chuckle out of the Shawn Michaels CM Punk stuff. But the rest of the matches were very good. They made certain people like Lash Legend and Braun Breaker look good in defeat. So that was good. And I just overall enjoyed the show. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll talk to you guys later.